Boar's Head is bringing a slice of Japan to the deli. Introducing Boar's Head Ichiban Teriyaki-style chicken. Tender, slow-roasted chicken breast, coated in our signature teriyaki glaze, where ginger, garlic, and a hint of brown sugar meet for a flavor that's both sweet and savory. New Boar's Head Ichiban Teriyaki-style chicken. The bold flavor of Japan. Now at the deli. Only from Boar's Head. Compromise elsewhere.
Blog Talk Radio.
How's it going, folks? Let me tell you something. I think we're having some technical difficulties, unfortunately, here at the Blog Talk Radio Network. And if I'm coming in a little staticky on you, my sincerest apologies. We've tried to link up several different times, and unfortunately, we're getting this damn static. And that's what we're getting. And let me tell you something. If you're hearing static, unless it becomes unbearable to the point where you just can't understand me, please let me know in the chat room or give me a call. The number 646-652-4869. But once again, I'm sorry for the static. It's the Blog Talk Radio Network out here. Can't hook people up with a decent connection out here to broadcast to the people. Anyway, folks, this is another episode of True Conservative Radio. I'm your host, the man they call Ghost. And once again, I'm sorry if I'm coming in a little staticky this evening. This is the Blog Talk Radio Network's department. I don't know what's going on. It seems to me like they're just playing with their pecker shafts, not getting on the ball out here and understanding that there's people that want content, people that want to discuss political topics of that nature, people that want to hear conversations of this nature, and we're kind of prohibited from doing that because of the fact we're getting static out the wazoo, if you will. So, anyway, folks, I apologize once again. This is just a random show, free format edition. It's the late night hour, folks. Pretty late out here, but, like I said, I'm a little bit of an insomniac. I don't sleep very much at best. At times, I may get about 5 hours of sleep if I'm lucky. But if not, well, you know how it goes. I try to get a couple hours sleep. Anyway, folks, 646-652-4869. Once again, sorry for the static, folks. But things I wanted to talk about this evening, or what I should say, not this evening, but this morning, depending on what part of the country you're in. Once again, I'm sorry for the static, folks, and if I just completely sound inaudible, I ask you in the chat room, please let me know. If you can at least somewhat hear me outside of the little static or the little crackle, I'd really appreciate it. But we're going to be talking about all kinds of political subject matters that pertain to America, because I don't feel that any of the candidates out here running for president are talking about American politics. I'm talking about issues that pertain to America. And what do I mean, folks? I'm talking about serious economy talk. I'm talking about ways that are going to reconstruct our education system, you see, because our current public education system is retarding creativity. It's retarding critical thinking, and I think that's why we're having somewhat of a little bit of a slowdown in innovation and technology and that sort of thing as far as Americans' production is concerned, and I think it has a lot to do with the educational system. You know how it goes. Anyway, folks, once again, I'm sorry for the static. I hear in the chat room that there is a lot of static, folks, and I'm sorry. It's just this ridiculous Blog Talk Radio Network. Like I stated previous, I wish they would stop playing with their pecker shafts and get their damn ball rolling out here and understand that we want to generate some political content out here. And they're just, kind of deterring it for me by sitting here having this static on this little broadcast this evening. But we need to talk about America, folks. We need to talk about how we're going to stimulate this economy. I'd like everyone to chime in about the economy, if you could. 646-652-4869 is the number to call. We want to hear from all political perspectives. I know that I am a conservative, but for all you folks that know me and have listened to the archives or have listened to me in past broadcasts, you understand that I have renounced the Republican Party because I feel that the Republican Party has been hijacked by liberals and has basically just turned its back on its true principles and conservative roots, so to speak. So Right now, as I speak and make critical analysis of the political landscape of America, I do so as a complete outsider that is true to his conservative principles and that sort of thing. And once again, I want to thank everybody for coming into the chat room. Please, by all means, if you want to participate in a conversation in this roundtable, it's an impromptu show. Unfortunately, Blog Talk Radio is just having a complete problem with this static situation. And I'm sorry, folks. I mean, if I sound inaudible, please tell me in the chat room if I sound completely inaudible. But the bottom line is I think we need to do something as American people. We need to demand that these candidates running for presidency for the most important office in the land out here. Okay, I think what these people need to understand is they need to start talking about things that, really mean something to America. And what do I mean by really mean something to America? I'm talking about the economy once again, folks. All right? I understand that we're beating ass in the war on terror. All right? I understand that what we're doing out here is we are implementing ourselves as the superior superpower in the international community. But what these candidates need to start talking about is they need to start talking about economy, how we're going to stimulate job growth out here, all right? What we're going to do about this illegal alien situation, okay? We've got 20 million illegals out here that have devalued the American the cost of labor. Excuse me, I don't mean to be so damn bamboozled out here, but there's so many issues that are being neglected out here that are completely being overlooked by the average American everyday voter. And sometimes it gets me a little flustered, folks, and I apologize. And by all means, I want to get all perspectives in here. 646-652-4869 is the number to call. We're talking about issues that really affect America. You got these candidates out here. They're talking about absolute malarkey, okay, that really pertain to America. And at the same time, I'm not singling out anybody. I'm talking about the people on the right, John Turncoat McCain, who could really give a rat's ass about any true conservative principles or Republican ideology for that matter, and then the communists on the left as well. They're not talking about any of the issues that really affect us, folks. And what's affect us? I'll tell you what affects us. It's the economy. We need to stimulate growth. We need to take care of the problem that we have a devalued dollar, folks. You know that right now in America there are high-end retail shops in New York City right now that won't accept the American dollar anymore. They'll only accept the euro dollar, folks. I mean, would you have ever thought you'd see the day that this would happen? I don't think so. But this is what we need to be talking about. This is what the politicians need to be talking about. And they're not talking about this garbage. What do you have the left talking about? They're talking about nothing but a bunch of handouts. That's what they're talking about, handout health care. Here, let me hand you out some more. Let me give you some more money. What are they talking about on the right? John McCain's talking about more government in our faces, more government regulation, higher taxes. You know, that the barrel of crude oil just hit over $100 a barrel today. I don't know if y'all are familiar with the situation that's happening, but the barrel of oil is over $100, folks. And for all the folks that are out there listening, I'm sorry if you're hearing a little bit of a static noise going on here, but the Blog Talk Radio Network is having a problem. It's having a problem, and unfortunately we're going to have to deal with the static this evening. I apologize, but I urge you to give me a call in. How's everybody doing here in the chat room? The Poor People's Campaign, Ozone, Heather, once again, thank you for tuning in with me this late evening. We're going to talk about some real political matters that really affect our lives as Americans, folks, as American people. Okay, 646-652-4869. Let's talk about real issues, folks. That's what I want to know. Let's talk about real issues. I mean, it's a scary situation in time that we're living in here, okay, folks? I mean, this election is very important, and I think that everybody's just, tickling their ass cracks, and pardon the harsh expression, but that's exactly what they're doing when it comes to this election, folks. people aren't voting for the right reasons. And I've stated this over and over. You've got folks out here saying that they're going to vote for Barack Obama because he has nice teeth, because we need young blood. Nothing that has anything to do with any kind of political substance, folks. And I think that if we vote for the wrong reasons and we don't demand, we don't force these politicians to start talking some American talk, some talk that's going to affect our issues, our America, our American dollar, then we're just going to get something that we're not going to like, folks, and we're just going to have to palate it for the next 4 years, and that's not what I want. That is not what I want. Maybe that's what you want out there, folks, but that's not what I want. I want America, folks. I want America what I used to know of as America. You've got New York high-end retail stores right now in America that aren't accepting Benjamin Franklin's, folks. They're not accepting American money. They're only accepting the euro dollar, and none of these candidates are talking about it, and that's what I am bringing these subjects up to light in this particular version of this radio broadcast of True Conservative Radio, and I thank all of you for tuning in with me. We've got a call, and before I take this call, I urge all of you to get to the nearest phone and give me a call at 646-652-4869. And once again, I apologize for the static that's going on here with the broadcast, but the Blog Talk Radio Network is obviously having a technical difficulty, and if you could just bear with the static, I can completely assure you that you'll have a decent broadcast otherwise. And we're going to go ahead and take our first call. The first call here is Ozone. I think it's Ozone. Is that you?
Yes, it is. How you doing?
How you doing? Yeah, I know. I thought that maybe the static would go away by this time, but unfortunately we're continuing to hear static on each broadcast.
Yeah.
So that's horrible. But what do you think, Ozone?
I think the show is. People will. It's worth listening to you even with the static. But as far as those retailers that are accepting only the euro, this is part of the balancing act of the economy. When the value of our dollar goes down, there's a lot of everything is cheaper here for Europeans, and they're buying up property. They're buying things. They're spending money on our products are cheaper, and I don't really. I hope I don't want it to spread, obviously. But if one company accepts the euro, let them do whatever they want. I think that they're not going to get a lot of business. They're going to lose tons of business because of it. How are people paying if they only accept euros? How are people transferring money to euros?
Well, this is exactly what they're trying to perpetuate, in my view. This is just a slippery slope down. Oh, you need to exchange your American dollars into euros at the local currency exchange or some kind of garbage like that. And I think that we're heading down a slippery slope if we're not careful as American people. And I think instead of talking about collateral matters like giving universal health care and ridiculous mumbo-jumbo like this, let's talk about real American issues that affect America. The devaluing of the American dollar is one. Two, we need to bring back production to America. We need to bring back innovation to America. We need to stimulate job growth in some fashion, and none of these people are talking about it. I think that Obama just barely, hinted to the fact that he's against NAFTA, which is a pretty good thing in my view. I don't really like NAFTA. What's your take on NAFTA?
Well, I believe that it should be free trade. I really do. I believe that if we can get something cheaper from somewhere else, then it's ridiculous to try to force ourselves to make it ourselves. If we can get it somewhere else cheaper, that we can take from cheaper from all the things we get from China, all the cheap products that come from there, we could take those, use those, and produce something more valuable. That's what we have to. I don't think it makes sense to not take a product from the cheapest place where you can get it from. I think in the long run, everyone's better off if we do that. I think so.
You really think that we're better off shipping out all the means of production outside of the United States, having it done cheaper, having the goods imported into America at a cheaper rate at the expense of American jobs? Now, what do you think? And I understand that. That's why we have $30 DVD players and whatnot, is the whole concept of free trade. But at the same time, I mean, as the products get cheaper, I think that the wages, as you're seeing here in modern America, are getting cheaper. What are we going to do, first of all, outside of the whole immigration factor, about 20 million illegal immigrants that are devaluing the cost of labor? Let's just X that equation out. What are we going to do to stimulate economy and innovation, productivity, entrepreneurship, production? What do you think that would help or set us in the right direction?
Well, the number one thing, and this is the most important thing to me, I think, is cutting taxes. Do not put a stranglehold on the businesses, on the production, whatever they're going to produce in the next year. Don't raise the amount. Give them as much credit as we can to produce. That will, I think, an American entrepreneur and the American business owners and Americans will take care of it like they always did. We just got to keep the tax rate low, and then even if the government starts spending money on things that they shouldn't, it's not good. But it's not. If we cut taxes, we'll grow. We'll just continue growing, and we'll produce and we'll compete. The best thing that these other countries want, China and India, the best thing that they could wish for is that we raise taxes and put more regulations, give more power to unions, raise the minimum wage. That just means that it's more worth it to do business in China than in America, and then people are going to go to China. I mean, if we cut taxes, it's not going to be more worth it. For some things it might be. Some jobs we're going to have to lose. We want to pay 10 cents for a CD instead of $1, or even 5 cents for a CD, but but not all of them will go, unless if we have a low tax rate. A lot of them are leaving because the production of next year, they're going to pay, because they're in a high bracket, they're going to pay 45%, after all is said and done, 45% on taxes, when in China they'll pay 20% or somewhere else. Why would anyone stay here? We can't stop them from going. We're a business. We're competing with other countries for business. And basically, if we charge them up the nose, they're going to leave. We have to cut taxes, cut regulation, cut unions, cut health care out of the employee health care. Let the businesses focus on providing the best product at the best price.
So you think that would spawn production in America, innovation, that sort of thing, if we cut taxes on what? Small businesses, corporate America? Is it a geared tax break, or is it all around tax break on anybody who's willing to put their money where their mouth is?
I think it should be really even a 10-15% tax rate. I think the lower we cut the taxes, the more government the money's going to have. I think you cut, we're going to have more and more. The government's going to collect more. We're going to produce more. I think it's all in the tax rate. And even if the rich pay 10% and the poor pay 10%, they're still paying 10 times more, because 10% of $1 million is $100,000, and 10% of $30,000 a year is $3,000. Even if we all pay 10%, the rich are still paying way more. I mean, it's ridiculous how the rich would, even at the same percentage rate, the rich pay more. But it's not. But then what we do is we charge the rich even a higher percentage rate. I think everyone should pay the same percent, which means the rich will pay more in total dollar amount. But the tax, just let businesses compete and get credit for what they produce. If they can do that, they'll stay here. If they can get more credit somewhere else, they're going to go.
Well, I can agree to that, and there's a few people listening to us, and I appreciate it. I'm sorry about the static. We're having a problem here at Blog Talk Radio, but you can go ahead and give us a call right now, 646-652-4869. Right now we're talking about the economy, what we can do to help stimulate this thing. Ozone is of the persuasion that the free trade is a good thing. Me, I'm starting to have second guesses on that, Ozone, but I'm just going to say that your persuasion is that free trade is a good thing based on the fact that we can get products at a cheaper rate, given that there's other people in the international community that are willing to do the same work at a cheaper labor rate, so that we can move the means of production outside the United States and let these foreign countries produce these products so we can have $20 or $30 DVD players, that sort of thing. But in the long run, I think that, and I understand what you're talking about tax breaks, but if we give tax breaks to those, corporations that are benefiting off becoming a multinational corporation, don't you think that it's just going to benefit their own bank accounts as opposed to them wanting to continue to invest here in America for any type of manufacturing or production matters? I think what we need to do is we need to, hold corporate America accountable, or at least the government in some sort, and make these government or make these corporations understand that, look, you were born here in America. Is your loyalty to China? Is your loyalty to wherever their second base is? And if they say no, their loyalty is to America, well, then we can talk about possibly giving some tax cuts or some sort of tax breaks to these corporations so they can bring back the means of production here or spawn innovation, put money in innovation so that we can stimulate jobs. You see, the only people that are talking about any of this are you and me right now, Ozone, because the candidates for president, all they're talking about is raising taxes, putting more government regulation. The left is talking about handouts. All we want as American people is the opportunity to work, make our own money, and live our own lives with dignity. And I don't think that any of these candidates are doing that or even providing any discourse on that subject matter. What do you think?
Well, I think for the incentive to produce and invest into America and start businesses in America is 100% correlated to the profit that we make. In a perfect system, in a perfect capitalist system, everyone gets exactly the credit for what they produce. That's what capitalism is. I produce something that I can sell, that someone else thinks is worth $5. I can sell it for $5. If it costs me $3 to make it, then I make $2. But I produce something worth $5. I get $5. That's the way. That's going to give me the most incentive to produce. When I can get as much credit as possible for a product I produce, and that would be the price that I could sell it for. But anytime you reduce from there, you're reducing production. So the government takes taxes because it has to run its thing and enforce the laws and provide security. The government takes taxes. It should only take the minimum it needs, because every time it takes more, it's reducing the incentive to produce. The incentive to produce in China is still there, but here it's 50% less. The incentive to produce is based on the tax rate, and it's basic. We have to remember that we can't charge businesses too much and still expect them to stay here. If we raise the tax rate, we're doing China's work for them. They know they're gonna grow. If China raised their tax rate to 50%, we'll grow. They'll start moving over here. It doesn't take. You don't have to be an economist to understand. If they charged a 50% tax rate, companies that were moving over there will now turn around and move over here, even though the wages are higher. The wages are not that big a deal. A lot of things are mechanized. It's the tax rates and the unions that are scaring them more than anything else.
Don't you think, though, also, Ozone, at this point, if we just lower the tax rate for the multinational corporations, because they would be the one who basically benefits off these tax breaks you're talking about. At this point, do you think that we can unconditionally give these tax breaks to these multinational corporations and expect them to somehow parlay those tax breaks or however they're compensated? Do you actually expect them to reinvest that in United States jobs or United States production? I don't think they will, Ozone. I think what they'll utilize America for at that point is some sort of a money laundering scheme so that they won't have to pay as much taxes from revenues generated at an international level. And I think that we need to, and I hate to say this because I'm a true conservative, I'm a Republican, but at this time, I think we need the government to make sure that these multinational corporations either have their loyalty to America or they have their loyalty to the international community. And if that's the case, well, then why are we going to give tax breaks to those who are going to be loyal to countries and populaces outside of the homeland, when all they'll do is take those tax breaks generated and go reinvest in the third world countries that's making them all their millions? You see, we need tax breaks. We need people that are true patriots out here that are going to put their money where their mouths are and go out and become true entrepreneurs. We need a better education system that spawns creativity, that spawns critical thinking. We need to start producing in the way of innovation. We need an economic environment that is conducive to such matters. And I don't think that any of the candidates at this point are talking about it. And for that matter, I don't think that the landscape we have currently is comparable to do such a thing. What do you think?
Well, I think, thinking about businesses that they have to be loyal to America and hoping on that is for me, it's the same thing as like liberals that say, oh, there's doctors that are going to work and be doctors even though they get paid less. They're still going to do the doctor's job. No, they're going to go into a competing business, any other business. They're not going to do that. Or profits, if you give tax breaks to the companies, basically, you're giving them their money. You're giving them their own money back. It's not like you're giving someone else's money, welfare to the corporations. You're giving them their own money back, and that by itself creates an incentive for them to stay in America because they see it's now more worth it to do business in America. Now, I used to make $70,000 on this store. Now I make $90,000 on my store. Now it's worth it to open another store. If you're gonna take away, and I only make $60,000 per store, it might not be worth it for me to go and do all the risk that's involved in opening another store. There's a lot of restaurants. If they make $80,000, $100,000 a year, they might not open another one. But if they make $150,000, $200,000, they will. When you give a tax,
you see, that's what I'm talking about. There's a difference between somebody who's running a restaurant and somebody else who's running a multinational corporation. Now, if we want to gear tax rebates, if we want to gear some sort of financial incentives to spawn people into becoming entrepreneurs and going out and making their businesses, whatever it may be. And I understand that there's only a limited amount of restaurants, bars, and the typical service industry, because that's the only thing we produce out here. But I think that we need an economic environment that is conducive to creating more innovative ways of solving problems. I mean, that's the only way we're going to create innovation out here is if we have an economic landscape that's comfortable enough, and we have an educated youth that's smart enough to create, solutions to problems that'll generate new innovations, that'll create new industries. I mean, this is what America needs, and nobody's talking about it, man.
Well, look, I'm telling you, the businesses, we have to make it we have to take away the least from them to have them stay in America. We have to take away the least from them. We have to give them as much as we can. But no, the government never gives an incentive to any business to produce by tax breaks. The only thing the government does with taxes, the second they put down a 1% tax, even a 1% tax, they are in reducing the incentive to produce. They're taking away. Normally he would get $100, now he's getting $99. That's less. So there's less incentive, and all the entrepreneurship, it's ready to happen, but the government has pushed so far hard into the freaking life of the business owner and entrepreneur, 40% taxes, 35%, and so much taxes and regulation and unions. I would hire someone to work, but you know what? In New York, I don't even want to hire anyone. There's so much regulation, so much paperwork. I got to start filling out forms, paying this tax, providing this, doing that, and I can't fire them. They can sue me for 1,000 different reasons. I don't even want to deal with it. This is what happens. We need to unleash entrepreneurship. Have safety and keep control, but we have to let people get every dollar of credit for what they produce. That's why they go to China, because here they got to pay taxes, and there they don't. Here they got to deal with unions and healthcare, and there they don't. It's just that. It's simply that. It's not the wages. Those people don't speak the language. It's 5,000 miles away. Sure, some things maybe they can move, but most of the things they're not going to move. Machinery is taking over in manufacturing, mostly machinery. I just think the taxes are the key. Taxes, if we cut the taxes on everyone, let everyone get the credit for what they produce, and they'll produce the most. If you give them the most credit, they will produce the most. It's all right there. I'm telling you, I think the economy is ready to explode. You really think so?
You think we're at a peak of exploding again? In what industry? What sector? In your view?
First of all, every industry has exploded. I mean, we take it for granted, but we live in America, even the poor, in a paradise. In a paradise, we live, even the poor. Maybe if your neighborhood's dirty, then clean it up. If there's gangs and crime, that's police. But as far as economically with products, I mean, you can get any job, and you can have a home with kitchen, fridge, microwave, car, TV in 3 rooms. So you can have an iPod. Everyone has cell phones. Even the poor wearing brand-name clothing. There's thousands of choices in every store. It's really a miracle that I'm always like in shock when I'm like, look at everything that I have that I can choose from for $1.99, $2.99, $3.99. There's people wanting to serve me, giving me every flavor of drink that I want. No matter what I want, they made it. They thought of me. Every color of paint or carpet, someone thought of it. Every style. There's so much. It's unbelievable. The more you give people the credit for producing, the more they're going to produce. I mean, just simple. It's like logic. The more credit people will get for producing, the more they'll produce. And when they say they're going to raise the tax rate to 40% on the production, they're saying that anyone that produces next year, we don't take money from people that already have money. They already have their billions. We're taxing what they're going to produce next year. We're taxing the production. We're saying if you produce, it's like giving a ticket to people for producing. It's like giving out tickets. Every time the more you produce, the more tickets you get. You have to pay. They're saying they're going to go to China for sure.
Well, you make some valid points, and there's people listening in right now, and I'd like for them to chime in. Sorry about the static once again, folks, but we're having problems with BTR, Blog Talk Radio. Give me a call. We want to hear from you as well. We're talking about economics. We're talking about other subject matters that are going to pertain to America in this upcoming election out here. The number 646-652-4869 is the number to call, and you can go ahead and call up at any time here.
Let me ask you a question.
What's that?
Yeah, if let's say all of a sudden someone in India found a way to make computers for basically nothing. He built a machine that better computers than we have, and it was in some other country, and everyone can have computers for a penny. Would you be, and of course, we'd say that's great. Now everyone has computers for a penny, but the industry of computers that we have here is going to be destroyed, and we're going to lose jobs. But still, it's better off. We're better off. We have to adjust. We always have to adjust and move. That's we can't save industries because we want to keep the jobs. Saving an industry to keep the jobs is completely a backward kind of thinking.
Okay, hold on. So we got somebody else on the line here. Hello, are you there? Hello? 210? Hello? Well, unfortunately, we didn't get any call there, Ozone. I thought they were going to talk. Are you there, Ozone?
Yeah, maybe they'll call back and try again.
Yeah. Go ahead and give us a call, folks. We're here talking about political matters, like I'm saying. I know that we're suffering from some turbulent times out here. We want to hear from you. We want to hear your opinion. 646-652-4869. If you just called up and for some reason we couldn't hear you or you got disconnected somehow, give us a call back. We're talking about the economy, how we can stimulate jobs in this economy. And according to Ozone, he's talking about tax breaks. And I'm all for tax breaks. I think they need to be a little bit more geared towards individuals to spawn American-made businesses. I think that by giving a all-out flat tax break to all, I think that you're only making an economic situation conducive for those multinational corporations to utilize the United States tax system to launder their money based on revenues generated on international investments. And I think that at this point, I think that we're going to need geared tax cuts to those that are actually going to somehow make some investment in production. And I'm not saying in any specific sector in general. I'm just simply stating in America. We just need more jobs in America, and we need something that's going to stimulate that. Obviously, we have a public education system that has failed us. The public education system is producing a lot of non-critical thinking, non-creative individuals out here, and that's why we have a halt in the whole concept of innovation continuity. And I think at this point what we need to do is scrap the current public education system that we have, and we have to have a president that's going to take the greatest minds that we have currently in America, take the biggest fat cats, put them together, and have them on a mission to figure out what's going to be the next innovation that's going to set this economy going again. And what do you think?
The public education system is a failure because it's basically, instead of relying on hundreds of thousands of private schools, we relied on one business, which is called the government, but it's still a business. And we just said, hey, let this business do it because we can't trust American businesses. We can only trust the government. And we are stuck with one business education system. They're completely corrupt. 80% of the money goes to freaking corruption and waste. The kids are getting a shit education. And that's what happens when you let the government control an industry.
Well, I can agree to that. You're not going to get any argument with me and and the government running anything. I think that any time the government puts their hands in anything, it turns into absolute malarkey garbage. And we'd like for you to chime in with your particular perspective. Go ahead, get on the phone, 646-652-4869. This is True Conservative Radio impromptu show, having a random discussion about politics. I think that these types of forums are very important in this day and age. Hopefully, you don't have to agree with me or Ozone or anybody else that calls up in here, but the least you can do is try to make some sort of perspective about the things that we're talking about. Create a perspective and understand where you stand on these issues, and understand that we need these politicians to talk about the economy, talk about stimulating jobs. We need to hear these things. Anyway, Ozone, I wanted to talk about something else. What do you think about these liberals out here that are actually gaining resonance with trying to take our guns away from us? What do you think about gun control?
Everyone should have a right to own a gun and have a gun, because that prevents crimes. That allows people to defend themselves. And we see people. The criminals all have guns, and if they know that, I believe, if they know that there's no gun owner in the house, they're gonna freaking go in there and steal it. If they know there's a gun in the house, or they don't know, they're not gonna go in the house.
I agree. I mean, I think that we need the right to bear arms, in my view. Do you have a limit? Do you have a limit on what gun a person should own?
Well, I don't know. I think they definitely should have a limit. I don't think people should have bazookas or killing machines. But definitely people should have a right to own a gun. I don't know about these weapons that shoot 1,000 bullets in a minute. I don't know why anyone would need. But like the schools that.
What about an AK-47? Do you think it's within a person's legal right to have an AK-47 in the home?
I believe it is.
Thank you. I agree too. I believe it too. I'm just asking because nowadays it seems to me that people are trying to look at you cross-eyed or something when you suggest that you believe in the constitutionally protected right of Americans to bear arms. And I think that there shouldn't be a limit. I think people should be, if they want an AK-47, if they want a Tech-9, whatever they want, it's in the Constitution. And I think these liberal, long-haired, tree-hugging hippies that are out here trying to push this gun control, all they're trying to do is outlaw the guns, so the only people that have the guns are the outlaws. It's just ridiculous, and it's disgusting. And I think we have another caller here, Ozone. Let's see if they have a perspective on this. Area code 608, you're on the air.
Hi, Ghost.
How you doing?
Okay.
Do you have an opinion on what we were talking about here?
Well, I guess if anybody knows my show and who I am, you could probably call me a liberal of some sort, but
is this White Rose?
Yeah.
Oh, how you doing? I couldn't understand because we have a horrible static going on here in the show.
No, I hosted the Brash Pack tonight, and it was just horrible. It was horrible. But I don't know. I'm a mixed bag of tricks, I guess, as far as where I'm coming from. I'm not a political person. I've spent all my life raising kids, and finally surfaced last summer as far as all of this, political stuff and really paying attention. I'm sorry, maybe I should have been more awake before, but being a single parent raising kids sometimes takes you away from, what's going on nationally. But, I'm here, I'm listening, I'm learning. I do believe in the Constitution, every one of them, every amendment, everything that's there. And I don't believe every citizen has the right to have an arsenal, but I believe they should have enough to defend themselves. And
now, what's an arsenal in your definition?
Well, an AK-70, whatever it is. I don't know guns. Okay, I mean, you don't need 10, 20 guns in your home. Unless, I mean, I don't know. And then you could say, well, it's my collection. I don't know. I don't know where to draw the line. But
I mean, it comes down to a constitutionally protected right. I mean, I think if somebody wants to have 20, 30, 40, 50 guns, I mean, I think they can have the right to do so.
What about
let me ask you a question. Okay, if somebody's got 10, 20, 30 guns, do you think that they should have a background check or something to make sure that the person who has all these firearms is mentally capable to handle that kind of firepower?
Well, if there's no criminal record on anyone, I mean, if you haven't committed any kind of felonies or, any kind of hard misdemeanors for that matter, if you weren't caught with any kind of narcotics, I think that you're within your right, as long as you're abiding by the law, I think you're within your right to have a gun, any kind of gun, any amount of guns as possible, and anybody who tries to tell you you're wrong for doing otherwise is wrong themselves, if you will.
Well, I'm not anybody who's got their head on straight and can handle a collection like that. I mean, seriously, I don't think I'd have, it's not any different than if you can categorize that with anybody who has another kind of a hobby, fine. Don't have a problem with it. But somebody else who might have an ulterior motive that you just need to, I'm not, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody who has so many guns registers on an FBI file somewhere. I don't know. You know what? It's the way it is, and I'm sorry to say, but you know what? I don't know. Big Brother watches if you've got that much. That's my guess. That's my gut feeling. Am I wrong or what? You register guns, you have that many, guess what? They're going to know. Am I wrong or what? I'm just coming from my own, ignorant understanding.
Well, Ozone, you were about to say something, right?
Yeah, well, it's scary, but if someone doesn't have a criminal record, I think that they have a right to defend themselves and they should have a gun. But my question to you, Ghost, is how much do you think is there a limit? Like, can you have bazookas that can shoot, far, far, far away? Or is there a limit that you have as far as the weaponry?
Uh-huh.
Because there wasn't guns like this when they wrote the Constitution, like they have now that shoot 100 in 3 seconds.
Well, our forefathers understood what unalienable rights we were supposed to be accorded as man. And one of those, they obviously extended enough effort to make it one of the top two constitutional amendments.
Right.
To bear arms. And I feel that if you're talking about bazookas, I don't think those are even street legal.
Right.
But I'm talking about anything that is legal. Anything that is legal. I think that if you can afford it, and if it's, if you're not a criminal and you're not getting it on a black market and you're getting it from a licensed gunsmith or at a gun show, I think that you're within your right to accumulate however many guns you want and however much you want. I don't think that there should be a limit. Putting a limit only limits one's freedoms, in my view, constitutionally awarded freedoms.
Ghost, I have a question, though.
Okay.
Do you know, you can do this collecting lawfully, but don't you, I had somebody do an FBI check on me, okay, and they even came forward and they said, you know what, you have an FBI file. And I said, what? Little old peaceful me? I got an FBI file only because I had several name changes. I changed my name, I went to court, and I changed my name, over 20 years ago, and I had my name hyphenated. I divorced my husband, and a couple different names showed up on my, like 3 or 4 different names showed up on my driver's license. And just because of that, I ended up having an FBI file. What do you think will happen to these people who register several guns?
I think that the government needs to stay out of people's businesses when it comes to people according themselves the right that has been constitutionally given to them to bear arms. Now, I think that there is no limit. There shouldn't be a limit. And I think that anybody who tries to even, debate the issue of there being any type of a limit, that's why I do not like Bill Clinton, because of this Brady Bill garbage. He had no right to limit the United States people's rights to bear arms. He had no right to do that. That is an authoritarian situation that he's getting himself into when it comes to those subject matters. And I don't believe there should be a limit. Now, do you think there should be a limit? Anybody? Ozone?
Well, you know what? With all the weaponry out there today, I'm a little concerned. I want everyone to have a right to have everything that they need to defend themselves. But I think there's weapons out there that are designed for more than that. I'm concerned. I don't know enough about it, but I definitely believe that everyone should have the right to bear arms as much as is needed to defend themselves. But I'm not sure about the limit. I'm not sure. I don't know enough, but I think if I see some of these weapons, you see these people like It was one of the law, the Brady law. It was in Long Island, New York, where right near here, where a guy went on the subway and shot with a weapon that can shoot many times. I believe he just shot everyone, and then quickly everyone was down. It was over.
Well, those are isolated incidences there, Ozone. And let me tell you, if your state there, just like they do in Texas, down here in Texas, you can lawfully carry a concealed weapon anywhere you go. And that's what I do. I participate in my constitutionally protected right. And
you don't have to register that gun. You can just carry it. Is that the way Texas?
Well, no, I have to take a class. I had to take a class, and
I'm new at this.
And get qualified and that sort of thing, and I did.
Thank God. I believe anybody who owns a firearm better go through some kind of training to know how to operate it.
Absolutely, and let me tell you something. Crime has gone down in Texas as far as armed robberies and going into broad daylight and shooting people up in public. Because if that starts happening, let me tell you something. People out here in Texas will pull out their guns and put a few holes in your body.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it. And I think that had there been more people packing out there when that idiot went nut job and started shooting people for no reason, I guarantee you he wouldn't have shot as many people had there been some people out there taking a couple of pop shots back at him.
Yeah, he's walking up the hallways.
Illinois.
What's that?
The recent one that happened up here at I think it was northern Illinois, close to my neck of the woods.
What are you saying, Ozone?
Yeah, in one of the cases there, with the one with 30 in Virginia Tech, the guy was walking through the halls, looking at other classes, trying to get in. I mean, if any one person there had a gun, he could have saved 10, 20 lives, because he's just one guy with a gun, but no one else has a gun. He's free there. No one can touch him.
So when it comes to limits, how about if one man had 50 guns? You think that's too much?
I think
I'm on the fence. I have no idea. I'm ghost. I apologize. I just don't know that much about guns, and I know that I was raised in.
These are legal. He gets them through legal means. This is a law-abiding citizen, or a woman for that matter. A law-abiding person.
When my dad was killed in an accident, my mama had a gun because she was. We had a country tavern. 5 kids alone out in the country. You damn right she had a gun. She had the right to have it.
Now, what do you think, Ozone? You think that's too much?
No, I don't. To me, really, they can have 100 guns, but what I'm concerned about is, like, let's say there's a gun. They come out with a gun that can shoot 500 bullets in 3 seconds.
Who needs? Like overs.
Isn't that a little? That's not. I don't. It has a line over there. Because 500 bullets.
Is there any ghost? No, let me ask you. Do you think there's any limit whatsoever? You say 100. How about 500? How many guns can one?
Look, me personally, my forefathers made it important enough to make it the Second Amendment of the Constitution to make sure that our people have the ability to bear arms. You need to read that constitutional amendment because it's very important.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that there is no limit. There is no limit. You can have as many guns as you see fit. If you're a law-abiding citizen, if you haven't broken any laws, if you haven't participated in any kind of nefarious activities against our government, against society, any kind of illegal activities, I think you're within your right to have any amount of weaponry as you want.
Well, what if there's a gun that can shoot 500 bullets in 3 seconds, just for argument's sake, and then all of a sudden, there's 3 cases where the guy went into a high school game or whatever, and boom, shot 500 people in a minute, he killed 100 people. I'm just saying there's an overkill sometimes. I think there is a point where it's overkill. Like, you can defend yourself with 10 bullets a second. You don't need 500 bullets every 3 seconds,
Well, I don't think they'll ever make a gun of that nature, but if they did, I think that every law-abiding citizen that has never participated in any kind of criminal activity, that has no criminal record, should have the ability and should have the opportunity to buy those weapons. The bottom line is that our forefathers gave us the constitutionally protected right, made it the second one. You remember, this is not some later on add-on kind of amendment here. This is the Second Amendment of the Constitution, and I don't think there should be a gun limit. I don't think there should be some sort of limit on, what size of gun, how many per bullet per second. It shouldn't matter.
I think Yeah, I think it should matter a little. Because then we have a threat of terrorism coming. Anybody here who didn't commit any crime yet pick up guns that can shoot like a lot of bullets quickly. They're shooting like crazy, like 10 a second, and they can go and buy them and legally, and then boom, kill 1,000 people easily. I think there has to be a limit. I think there has to be some kind of limit, but I mean, definitely, there's a lot of people out here that they just don't think that anyone should have a right to own a gun at all. That that's how I think we should focus on them, because that's the real issue. But as far as a limit goes, I really think that there is a limit that that there should be.
Well, I have to completely disagree. And we see a lot of people in here in the chat room. I beg them, give us a call right now if you disagree or agree. 646-652-4869. But ozone, I believe in the Constitution, and I think that there should not be a limit. Limiting the ability of a constitutional protected right is one step closer or a slippery slope from eliminating it altogether.
But that all these gangs that now use other guns, if these things are available, they're going to have them as well. They're going to end, that's just going to happen. They're going to have these weapons as well.
Well, these things are obviously going to be registered, and whoever had the gun is going to have to suffer a major investigation and could be held liable, because that's a very dangerous gun and it should be kept within secured confines. I think that there should be logistics in the law to pertain to those isolated incidences, because that's what they're going to be, ozone, isolated incidences, and they shouldn't be blown up out of proportion to define the majority.
I hear what you're saying, but if you have an enormous personal gun collection, and if they're registered, terrorists are out there not just walking the streets. They're not just in Afghanistan or Iraq or whatever. They're on our computers. They're in our databases. What if somebody figured out, there's where the guns are? And
they wouldn't, because first of all, there is no database on gun collectors. At least
no. But that's what I'm saying. I'm saying each gun is registered, and I hope to God. I know all these records are computerized. Everything's online. The registration, who owns what, is probably online, and I don't care how many firewalls or what you've got going. There are geniuses out there who are terrorists, and they will find out what you want to find out.
The bottom line is that people.
I'm saying, what if?
Well, if they have their constitutionally protected gun in their home, they are not going to go quietly into the good night. I guarantee it, and that's why our forefathers accorded us that right, is just in case. We have to protect ourselves against any kind of foreign intruders. We'll have the ability to do so. Most countries are completely de-armed, and what are they going to do? What are they going to do if, something happens, there's riots in the street, a foreign invader comes into their homeland, or a burglar, the whole 9 yards? Nothing. They can't do nothing. They're absolutely helpless.
Well, you know what? On the other side of this, yes, they won't go out quietly, but what if this person who has this magnificent gun collection is targeted secretly or quietly by I'm just giving you a movie scenario. Maybe I'm nuts for saying this, but you know what? Maybe somebody could slip you something that would just kill you quietly, or whatever.
If that was the case, we have federal authorities that will track down those individuals that target that person specifically for their firearm collection.
But do you understand what I'm saying?
What's that?
Do you understand what I'm saying? There are other ways to, if you've got a gun collection that is amazing, and some terrorists want to target you and find you or whatever, they'll find you some way or the other. And if they want them, they'll get them, and one way or the other.
Yeah, I just think that everybody should be able to participate in their constitutionally protected right.
Yep. I don't have a problem with that. I don't.
And if we start limiting that right, that's just a slippery slope to wither it away completely. And I will be damned. Okay, go ahead.
I'm just saying the protections need to be put in place. If you're going to own a collection like that, you need to be ready to accept the liabilities for it.
So what do you think, Ozone?
Well, the more I think about it, the more I think that there should be a limit, because look, everything is supplied.
there should be a limit. Let's hear this. Go ahead, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, everything is supply and demand. Just like drugs, they're illegal, and drug dealers can go to jail for 5-10 years for selling what they're selling, and there's 100,000 of them doing it, because and there's people paying thousands of dollars for grass. And for a little plant, I mean, whatever people want, it will be supplied. And I think that, just like a bazooka, you say it's not street legal, but that means that the government doesn't allow it. I mean, and some of these guns can do more damage than a bazooka. I think that there's got to be a limit to the kind of mass murder weapons that are produced. Everyone should have guns, and everyone can have 100 guns, as long as it's not a gun that can shoot 100 people in 10 seconds, and that's what a lot of these guns can do right now.
So you mean to tell me that one can have an assault rifle that has the ability to be a 60-round banana clip semi-automatic weapon?
60 rounds, and how long does it take to shoot those?
Well, I mean, you can't have a fully automatic weapon in America. It's illegal. So, I mean, it would be semi-automatic. It would be as fast as you can pull your trigger finger.
I have a dumb question.
Yeah.
Why would anybody want that kind of gun in their collection?
Because it's their constitutionally protected right to do so. I mean that's why. I mean, anybody who buys these weapons understands that.
Fascination. I don't understand it. What's the fascination with it? Why?
Well, just in case anybody intrudes on our home or on our homeland or anything of that nature. I mean, we're ready. I mean, you notice that's probably a big factor on why nobody has invaded the United States, was because we arm our people.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. I think that any weapon that can be considered, a gun, is a weapon that can kill people. It can kill a bunch of people, but any weapon, I think there should be a draw line where it's a mass murder weapon, where you can kill 100 people in 10 seconds with it. Anything like that, I don't think those should be produced. And the only, and the police, what are the police going to do if these weapons are? Anyone that wants it is going to get it. I'm telling you, supply and demand rule, and they're going to want it, and they're going to get it. It's just going to happen. And I think that why not a bazooka? It's a weapon. It's for self-defense. Why is it not street legal?
Well, I agree. I don't see why it isn't street legal, Ozone. I'm just saying it isn't. And I mean, we just can't get it in a gun shop and that sort of thing. I mean,
right. Well, you know what? Giving people responsibility, which is a Republican conservative value, giving people responsibility over themselves to choose and decide, it's a very scary thing, because a lot of people are like, people will do the wrong thing. So it's a scary thing to say these guns should be out there. I mean, you have a lot of trust, I guess, in the American people that it will be for the best. I just think there should be a limit, but I'm scared to put these guns out.
Really? I mean, that these are isolated incidences, Ozone, and what happens is that the outlaws end up having the guns, and the people that are trying to abide themselves to this no-gun lifestyle, what ends up happening? They end up being a victim of a situation where if they had a gun, they would have been able to ward off such an attack or such an intrusion on their personal liberty. And I think that by arming people, law-abiding citizens, I'm not talking about people that just got off parole or that just got off sucking a crack pipe or anything of that nature. I'm talking about real, legitimate American people that have no criminal record, that have done nothing but oblige themselves to the laws of this country and the dedication to the American way of life. I think these people should not have any kind of limits when it comes to their rights to bear arms. I just don't think so, and I think by doing so is a slippery slope from withering away the Second Amendment altogether.
Well, I have another question.
Okay.
There's a lot of, I hear what you're saying, and I do believe in the Constitution, and I don't know how I feel about unlimited, scope as far as how much you can own. I do believe in, outlaw the guns and only criminals are going to have them. I don't know how I feel about, having an unlimited amount of guns in your home. But my other question is, aside from that, is what don't you think it makes sense to put in some kind of guidelines? I mean, how many? There's a lot of kids who get hurt by guns.
Well, I think that
by irresponsible gun owners. Don't you think there should be some type of rules or something?
Sure. Well, I think
you're going to be a gun owner, be a responsible gun owner, and make some type of if you're going to if your son or daughter gets shot because you didn't take care of your gun collection, there should be some type of stop that from happening.
I don't agree with that. I think that what would happen is there would be an investigation by a detective, and if they would remember, everybody has due process, and if they find wrongdoing or negligence on the parents' part, like the gun was just right there behind the damn sofa or something ridiculous of that nature, well then sure, I think there should be some sort of a punishment inflicted upon the parent. But you can't blame parents.
Well, you wouldn't pass any wide sweeping legislation that would require gun locks or something of that sort?
No, absolutely not. I think that's just enforcing people to do things that, I mean, hey, if it happens and there's negligence, well, the law will deal with them accordingly. It's just like these hate crime laws.
I don't think you can compare a gun lock law with a hate crime law. I don't know. Maybe I'm not.
No, I think that hate crime. In my view, I think that hate crime, the whole hate crime law, in my view, basically puts you in prison just for thinking something. I mean, I think that we're at a borderline, putting people in jail for thinking. I mean, now somebody can make a derogatory remark, and it can't even be that derogatory. I mean, look at Don Imus. He was, with this whole hate crime hysteria. Look, if something happens and it's a grotesque, version of humanity, I think that people will be accorded the punishment ruled by the law. And if they commit murder, whether it's hate, whether it's inspired by hate or not, they're going to die regardless. I think that by putting in such laws like that and putting in such laws as, okay, well, if you have a gun and your child kills themselves, you should be held responsible. I mean, I think that's just a slippery slope on, putting in bureaucracy and criminal activity when it doesn't need to be.
So let me read back what you're saying. See if I understand you, okay?
Okay.
Your view is if we put in some type of legislation that requires gun locks or preventative legislation for, child access to firearms in the home, you feel like that is an open door to more control.
Absolutely.
Other aspects in our society. I understand what you're saying.
Absolutely, because what will happen is it won't become gun locks. It'll be like, okay, well, we'll give you something that, makes your gun powerless until, we feel it's okay for it to be fired if you're in a case of an emergency. We don't need the government telling us when we can't use our guns. I don't
know. My feeling is, yeah, maybe so, but I think some legislation is just legislation and it stops there, especially if, I don't know. I don't think it's always a slippery slope. I think some laws are there to just plain, protect, and that's it. I don't think they lead to anything. Maybe I'm naive, but I don't know. That's what I feel.
Well, this is some pretty interesting conversations that we're having, and I urge everybody who's listening in the chat room and elsewhere, call up. 646-652-4869 is the number to call. We're just having some random thoughts. I mean, we are talking about the Second Amendment, and of course, it seems to me that I'm shocking Ozone, who's a Republican, and shocking White Rose, because I believe that there should be no limits on the Second Amendment, because that's the way our forefathers intended it. No.
Well, forefathers didn't have the foresight to see the firepower one individual citizen could have. That's my opinion.
Ozone?
We have.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Ozone, did you hear what I just said?
Yeah.
What do you think? What's your reaction to what I just said?
Yeah, well, people should. There's got to be a limit. I think people should be able to defend themselves. But if you have a weapon that can shoot and kill 30 people at a time, or can shoot everyone in the background, kill the guy that's attacking you and everyone in the background when you pull the trigger in 3 seconds. I think, and they didn't realize the amount of firepower that each person can have, and the criminals, they're going to get it. I mean, it's not isolated incidents. Criminals are using guns every single day. Every gang member has guns, and every guns that are available for purchase in America will get into the hands of the criminals. That's just the way it's going to be. They're going to pay whatever it is. If it's illegal, they'll offer someone $5,000 and they'll get it.
But you see, Ozone. I mean, when it comes to these heavy artillery weapons that you're talking about, I mean, there's a whole procedure, because of the Brady Bill at this point, which I think should be null and void. I think that people should get whatever gun they feel like, whatever they see fit, just as long as they're law-abiding Americans and not criminals, not individuals that are out here committing crimes or anything. I think that everybody should have their constitutionally protected right given to them. And if they want to get a gun, if they want to get an AK-47 with a 60-round clip or a 100-round drum, it doesn't matter. They should be able to have the ability to do so if they're a law-abiding citizen because their forefathers accorded them that right. Now, the debate is that, well, the forefathers didn't anticipate such heavy artillery, but at the same time, the forefathers weren't stupid. They understood that we were going to evolve as far as being an industrious nation and that sort of thing. But they always knew that we needed to accord the people the right to bear arms so that they could protect themselves from intruders, both foreign and domestic.
I have a question.
Okay.
Okay, where do you draw the line behind or in front of or whatever? What would keep a citizen from having their own bomb? I mean, you're talking firearm. That's a firearm.
Well, you can't have. I mean, it's completely illegal to participate in any kind of bomb-related activities or anything like that nature.
Okay, well, I'm just trying to figure out where you're coming from because when you're talking.
Well, it's illegal. It's illegal to participate in that activity. So you're just.
Okay. No, I'm just trying to find out what the parameters are here.
Grenade.
When you say firearms, I want to know exactly what you mean. Are these? When you talk about bazookas, you talk about all these other things. I want to know where the line is drawn.
Well, to be completely honest with you, I think that you have private industries that create military weaponry.
Okay.
You have a private industry that develops these weapons and artillery and that sort of thing that only can sell to the government. I think that we need to lax our laws on that to a certain extent and have the ability for private individuals to be able to purchase certain pieces if they see fit. Now, I mean, I'm just saying these things will be expensive, but if a person makes enough money and they have put aside enough revenue to buy these products and are a law-abiding citizen that, believe in the rule of law and understand the American way, I don't see where there should be a limit on somebody participating in their constitutionally protected Second Amendment.
Well, I hear what you're saying, but a lot of criminals have been able to avoid a criminal record. How do you feel about that?
Well, I'll name a couple of situations where criminals have...
All I know, no, I'm not in that. I'm just saying this is a scenario. I'm sure it's out there. I'm sure there's a way to do that. This is just a what-if scenario, okay? I'm just, I come from small-town America. I just know that the strangest things in life can happen, and this is just
okay. Well,
a real-life scenario. What if?
Given the isolated incident that one of these weapons get into the wrong hands, the rule of law will deal with them accordingly. And I think if they're going to kill somebody like they do in Texas, believe me, I'm in Texas. We execute more people than anyone else in the Union. And the reason is because we want to deal with the riffraff, and we don't want to sit over here and try to kid ourselves into believing that some killer, some ridiculous heathen who either, raped or killed somebody is going to rehabilitate themselves and be some sort of product of society. We put them right in the gas chamber, right in the electric chair, right in the damn, whatever we do to kill these people. That's what we do because that's the way the rule of law should work. And that's exactly what should happen, to people that, misuse our Second Amendment, that are out here killing innocent people, participating in unlawful activity. They should be put under the same constraints that those who kill in Texas do, and they should be put to death.
Mm-hmm.
Ozone?
Yeah.
This is I've never talked about this before, Ghost. This is opening up my mind. Do you realize this?
Really?
I mean, yeah, I've never talked about gun control or anything like this before. I'm telling you, I've lived a sheltered life. I've been a peace activist for a little bit under a year. This is all new to me. I am not, number one, I am not anti-military. That I want everybody to understand. My group, myself, we are not anti-military. I want to ask you a question. It's a little off topic, but did you hear what happened in Berkeley recently?
Berkeley?
With Code Pink?
No, I didn't hear.
I don't know. Let me see if I can, you will get a kick out of this. The city of Berkeley, city council, decided to pass a resolution of some type. It was like, I don't know what the numbers were, but maybe one or two opposed it. But they wanted to kick out the U.S. Marines from having a recruiting office in their city.
Wow.
And, I am not anti-military. Just check it out and just challenge you to have a show on this and talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is really weird. No, I do not, and then just listen to me. I do not agree with what Code Pink did. I do not agree with what the Berkeley City Council decided. They are, I don't know, I guess they had another city council meeting today. This is Tuesday.
Well, you know what, right, Rose? That's a pretty good debate. Let's have it right now. Ozone, he's been pretty quiet, and he's a pretty good Republican. He's a traditional Republican, even though I think he's doing the wrong thing by voting for John Turco McCain. But that's another debate.
But can I give you the scenario that the U.S. Marine Corps was compared to, please?
Go ahead.
Okay. The reasoning correct me if I'm wrong, but the reasoning behind the City Council's resolution was we have the right to restrict a porn shop or a gun shop within so many feet of a school. We should have the right to restrict a Army recruiting office. Since when should people who protect our country be compared to a porn shop? That I don't agree with. Oh my God.
I completely agree with that, and but you see, this is a tricky issue when it comes to Republican principles. This is why I'm going to pose this question to Ozone. Now, Berkeley, which I believe they're completely wrong. I think they should be, ashamed of themselves, but they are utilizing the guise of independent, local rights, when compared to states' rights argument with traditional Republicans. Now, do you think it's their right, as the city of Berkeley, Ozone, for them to pull off such a resolution to ban military recruiting offices from educational institutions?
Well, absolutely not. But the problem here is this is the problem with the education system. Because they control education, we always have all these issues with what the school's doing. Nobody likes what they're doing. Should they do this? Some think this, and some think that. And we always have to have a war. And every time, half the country at least is not happy because they control the public education. They definitely should not be just stopping the Marines from recruiting. These are military forces. They're defending us. They're defending all democracies around the world. That's ridiculous. But the problem is that when they have control of public schools, and soon they're going to have control of your health care, another million things that they're going to try to control, and they're going to force down our throats, just like parents get with the public schools today. They don't have a choice. Government controls it, and they're going to force their liberal views. Liberals control the schools. If the conservatives controlled it, I wouldn't mind as much.
All right, and we've got somebody else here wanting to chime in. It's 646 area code. You're on the air.
Yeah, hey, my thing is, listening to the show, my thing is based on, I think it's just the love for hip-hop that will gradually gratify everything and piece together the gratitude for everything that you're talking about as far as the guns of the movement, because it's the positivity that we bring to the circle that make things right in this whole strange world.
You're talking about 50 Cent gangsters, pimp hoes, drinking 4 O's, that sort of thing?
Well, I don't necessarily call bitches pimps and hoes or anything like that, but I do somehow believe that not really 50 Cent per se, but I'm just saying those things and elements of hip hop is the positive, like Common, Mos Def, Talib Kweli will honestly actually take away from the negative of the gunslinging and the pimp hoe smacking that goes on in hip hop world today.
Well, I'm glad you brought this issue up because I believe that it's American pop culture. Yeah.
I couldn't hear what he said. He was so garbled. Can you repeat what he just said?
He was just talking about how the the positiveness of hip hop and its influence on our culture will make everything all right. And I'm just paraphrasing him. But I have to completely disagree because, first of all, hip-hop is probably the leader in the absolute, downfall of our society. I remember hip-hop, very, very distinctly. I was raised in, a teenage son during the 90s when all this ridiculous mumbo-jumbo, Biggie Smalls, Tupac, busting caps garbage was going around.
Honestly, I really don't appreciate how you honoring the memory of the great Biggie, Christopher Wallace.
Christopher Wallace was a self-proclaimed drug dealer. All right, he served crack to his own people. And how are you going to sit here and talk about how he's the great when he helped destruct his own community? How can you call him the great Chris Wallace, sir?
He's really cutting up, folks.
Yeah, you're cutting in and out. You want to talk again here? Say it one more time. We couldn't hear you.
I said, looking back, like a lot of shootings and things that's going on and stuff like that, I don't recall those people listening to hip hop and Biggie Smalls.
Well, I don't understand.
I think what he's trying to say is that can I the guy on the side, what's his name? And whoever goes, I think. In my own.
What I'm saying is, in the Caucasian community,
you can't judge the whole. You can't. My feeling is you can't judge the whole hip hop society.
How am I not judging?
There's something positive. There's some positivity there.
Well, there's positivity there, but it's being very much overlooked by these ridiculous characters that aren't even real. I mean, I could acknowledge, look, gangster rap could be an outcry of the ghetto and that sort of thing, and I'll acknowledge that. But the bottom line is the majority of these artists don't even come from the garbage they rap about. These are actors. These are, paid entertainers, and what the liberal media is doing is they're packaging these people like 50 Cent, which never saw the light of day of the hood, never really dealt any kind of drugs and did all the garbage that he says he's done. But the liberal media will package this man up and sell him as an actual product, and then you've got middle-class America, suburban America, listen to this Nimrod, and actually thinking that this is an actual way of life, and they're creating the ghettos in suburban America because of this idiot. And with all due respect, sir, and I understand that you're trying to name isolated incidences in the hip-hop community via, maybe Tribe Called Quest or, whatever the case might be, but, that's a very minute part of the culture, sir, and what's unfortunate is that hip-hop is the downfall of our society. I think that there's been some very few contributions that have any kind of significance to human enlightenment. For the most part, it's been absolute filth. And for you to sit here and try to debate me on this knowledge, I don't think you have a leg to stand on, sir.
So are you trying to say Elvis and people from like the Doors and stuff like that have done and also Elvis got Johnny Cash hooked on drugs, so are you trying to say they different and they brought down the whole downfall? Because I see them, y'all see them as icons. It's the same thing.
Well, the big difference, if you want to talk about the Doors.
Elvis said all the nigga could do for me is shine my shoes. So is that like the same thing? I never heard the 50 Cent say all a white person could do for me is wash my car. I never, clear that up for me, sir.
Well, let's not go back into a racial turbulent time. I mean, obviously there was some.
It doesn't have nothing to do with a racial turbulent time.
Yeah, well, you're bringing in race, and I'm not bringing in race.
Talking about music as an influence. You guys are talking about music as an influence, nothing to do with race or whatever. How has music influenced our society? That's what I think the issue is here.
Well, I think that.
You referred to hip hop as being mumbo jumbo and stuff like that.
I think it's a horrible, packaged product made by the liberal media to pacify our children into being absolute imbeciles. I mean, I think it's a true agenda.
So when Pepsi and McDonald's and all these other things sponsor these different events and stuff like that, it's the same thing for those $1 billion, not million, those are billion.
I think what they're doing is pandering to their demographic that usually shops at their retail or fast food shops. I think that's what they're doing. Go ahead.
Both respectfully, question.
Yeah.
Okay, you have this opinion about hip hop. Do you think there are other musical influences in this country that are just as or are bad.
I think that
What do you think about the music industry? What are we doing?
I think that the music industry has lost its edge in creativity. I think that what you have is a bunch of uniform type genres. If you look on television today, what you have here is if you don't have these, big wannabe packaged 50-cent, bust a cap in your ass, pimpin' hose type of product, if you don't have that, you have this new day and age rock star that is no longer looking like a male anymore. Males aren't looking like males, and females aren't looking like females anymore.
What do you think about American Idol as a little offside?
I wanted to talk about that. I wanted to talk about how in American Idol, did you notice the amount of fruit bowls, the amount of absolute, looking like they just popped out of the anal passage of Richard Simmons? I mean, did you see this garbage on American Idol? I mean,
I don't even watch it. I've watched last season, but I have not even tuned in because I've watched several seasons. The first couple I watched religiously. When I saw Aiken get voted in, I thought he was wonderful, but I don't know. I think it's getting watered down, and I have not bothered to watch.
Honestly, but you have to understand.
You hear me, guys? Do you hear me? It's getting streamlined. They're trying to make it more enjoyable, more entertaining, and in the process, they're taking away from the originality of the first thought.
And they're indirectly turning our American youth into a bunch of fruity ass butt lovers. I mean, did you see the amount of fruits out of here that were on American Idol? This is what I'm talking about. This is the line that's happening in entertainment. You're either a little fruity ass, that looks like a chick out here as a young male, or you're selling yourself out to this wannabe bitchy blonde-headed Eminem wannabe gangster rapper garbage. There's no in between anymore, and this is what I'm talking about. The media's put it this way.
So can I ask you? So what about people like Mr. Collie?
Like who? You're garbled up. I don't know what your name is.
You just cut in and out. You cut in and out.
You all are. The blog talk is broke talk tonight. Sorry, I don't hear you very clearly.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, what I'm talking about is the artists that are coming out right now are being chosen by the people because the music industry is just taking a downfall. So things like MySpace and YouTube, these are people, the fans, the regular people are out there picking the music that they want to hear, and these are the people that the music industry is investing in to make money and make music in.
But sir, look, I want to tell you,
the people picking them. It's not the corporations anymore. It's the people that's picking.
That's because the people are idiots, sir. And let me explain why. Okay, I can understand jazz. Duke Ellington. These people that had true significance into the enlightenment of music. I mean, that changed eras. They're going down in musical appreciation history books. What you have here, sir, is an exploitation of a small segment of society, and they've made it into an actual mainstream culture. I mean, and you have a whole segment of people that actually believe that, wearing your pants below your anus, gives you some sort of cool significance.
So, can I ask you
do you know what that means, sir? Do you know where the whole sagging of the pants is derived from, sir?
I know that comes from prison. I know
it comes from prison. And you know what that means when you have your pants low like that? That means you're an easy piece of ass for any big bubba that wants to go up there and give you a big hard one up the poop chute. That's what that means.
Can I ask you a question? So what do you think about things like the Eminem, the White Rapper show, Step Up 2? These are movies where they have white people trying to.
I think it's horrible
and doing the hip hop culture.
I think it's absolutely horrible. I mean, because first of all, I'll tell you why it's horrible. Because first of all, these white pieces of redneck trash, especially Eminem.
Are you aware that most of the record sales from hip hop is from white suburban?
I understand this, sir, and this is what I'm saying. It's this liberal media that has goofed our children. Via the Hollywood. You have Hollywood intertwined with the music industry. You have the movie industry intertwined with Hollywood and video games. So it's all intertwined together. Okay, and what they're doing is they're selling our children this absolute malarkey. And this is why they actually believe that this is an actual culture. There is no culture. It's ridiculous mumbo-jumbo that's been sold to us by corporate America.
It's marketing. It's marketing, dear. It's marketing.
But it's $1 billion. Are you aware that this conversation that you're having when you was young, the music that you listened to, your parents was telling that to somebody else, and their parents was telling them that from swing to R&B to when Little Richard and all these other people came. Every form of music that came out, every older generation had a problem with it, saying the same thing.
But you don't understand. At least that music had substance to it, sir. I mean, you have to understand, there is no substance to hip-hop. And what is it? I'm a PIMP. I'm pimping hoes. I'm busting caps. I'm twisting.
I need to stop you for a second.
One of Garth Brooks' biggest selling songs is the song he did with Nelly.
What's that?
One of Garth Brooks' biggest selling songs is a song that he did with Nelly. Linkin Park sold more records doing the mashup album with Jay-Z. I mean, look at what's going on here.
Listen, the problem with hip-hop is I've heard good songs that preaching peace and harmony, and they're wonderful, inspiring. But most of hip-hop is basically showing kids who treat these singers as their idols, unlike any adult. They're teaching the entire youth that doing drugs is okay, having sex is okay, getting married, divorced 3 times, having a kid and leaving them is okay. Everyone, Britney Spears, Elvis, that doing drugs is okay. They see these idols, and they say you got to go to prison to get your reputation. So the kids are listening to this. You got to sell drugs. You can do drugs, and you can still live in a big house on cribs. And that's the problem. It's if they want to.
I have a question. I want to interrupt you. I have a question now. And Ghosty, listen, please. Are you hearing me?
Yeah.
We got a real problem with sound here, but I have a question. Okay.
Okay.
You're talking about the Constitution here. Okay. Where does the Constitution come in when the last caller, I'm sorry I didn't catch your name, but if you're broadcasting all these, this is okay to do all this crazy stuff, is that okay? Can we put that over the air and let it influence our youth, or are we going to step up and say they have the right to say that because of the amendment or, the freedom of speech?
Well, no, you see, what hip-hop is doing. No, what hip-hop is doing is
I don't care if it's hip-hop. I don't care if it's Lionel Richie. I don't care if it's the Beatles. Where do you draw the line when they're singing?
Well, let me explain. Hip-hop is there's a line in hip-hop because it's the equivalent of yelling fire in the theater. These are individuals.
How do you divide hip-hop from the rest of the industry?
No, let me explain. Let me explain what I'm saying here.
Okay.
What you have here is you have corporations that are selling products like 50 Cent and these fake gangsters. These are not real people, but they're marketing them as if they really got shot 5 times. They're marketing them as if they were really drug dealers and kingpins wherever the hell they were at. They're marketing them as a real thing, and they're not. They're fake. And that, by very definition, is yelling fire in the theater. These guys are advocating killing. They're advocating going out and busting caps on each other, dealing drugs, backstabbing people for the sake of money.
What they're going to say, no matter what, is our freedom of speech to be able to say whatever we want to
right.
say.
Well, me personally, I never heard a hip hop song that says it's cool to go to jail, and it's cool to backstab your man, and it's cool to fuck your guy's girlfriend.
I've heard a lot of no.
Yeah, let me tell you something. Why don't you listen a little bit of the Chronic album? That'll show you a little something.
No, I listened to Chronic. I got Chronic and Chronic 2002. I got both of them.
And that's what I'm saying, sir. That all that in culture induces is, look. Let me ask you a personal question, sir. And I don't mean to say this to be insulting. How old are you?
I'm 24.
You're 24. Do you have any children?
No.
You have no children?
No.
All right. Are you married?
No.
Okay. Do you smoke marijuana?
No.
No,
I listen to hip hop.
You don't have to lie. You don't have to lie, sir. If you're toking on the reefer.
This is anonymous.
No,
What's the truth?
No, sir, not at all.
I'm not 5'0" here. You can be smoking on Indo.
You're not being whatever tapped.
No.
Yeah,
I'm telling you the truth.
If you're puffing on the Magic Dragon, just tell us. I just want to know.
No, I'm telling you the truth. I don't drink. I don't smoke.
Then you're an isolated incident. You're an isolated incident, sir, because the majority of the people that are induced into this demographic, they're all, by the age of 24, 25, they all have at least 3 children. Okay, they're out here on subsidy programs. You even have, welfare carols. Have you ever heard of Bone Thugs and Harmony, sir? I'm sure you have.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Have you ever heard of the? Have you ever heard of First of the Month? You ever heard that song?
Yeah, I'm familiar with
it. You know what?
But did you hear I Try So Hard? Like that joint is like I'm trying because I want to get out of that. See, and this is what I'm saying. Like, see, it's the same way like these artists that's saying 50 Cent can say I get money. He can still turn around and do a song called Many Men.
Right, but I don't want a guy who has videos with girls dancing half naked. I don't need this guy to tell my kids that try hard, because even with parents, it's not what they say. Even whatever the song says, they're watching the celebrities, and they're going to do what they do. Kids do what parents do. They don't do what the parents say. And the same with celebrities. They see Britney Spears' sister getting pregnant. They're gonna say, "Hey, look, she can do it. I can do it."
Well, it goes back to what the lady just the question the lady just said. It goes back to what the lady just said is, how do we stop this? The parents have to step up and stop letting the music and stop letting the TV and stop letting the radio or whatever.
You know what? I raised a couple teenagers, and I'm telling you, I stepped on them, and I did. I mean, and they'll tell you you're
right.
I was all over them like grass on a lawn. I made sure of what as much as I could. I made sure of everything that came into their lives, but there is a limit to what you can influence. After a point, they make their own decisions, and that does happen before they turn 18 here.
Let me explain something to you. I had the unfortunate incident of having to participate in this whole hip hop garbage. Back in the 90s, I raised a son. I have a couple of sons, but one of them in particular got so anesthetized with this gangster rap garbage. He started, dressing up like a gangster, thought he was some, bad hard ass, when he knew damn well he wasn't raised in that environment, but because he was listening to the damn Chronic album, because he was out here, listening to Snoop Dogg, because he was out here, thinking, he had his mind on his money and his money on his mind, all this garbage. It got me a little upset. So what did I do? I took all those damn records. I started listening to the absolute filth that's on them. I just completely took them away, and then I took my son out, drug him out of the damn house in a damn headlock, put him in the car, took him to the most, desolate, impoverished part of town that I could find, dumped him off on the corner right there and said, "Hey, let me see how gangster you are out here in these neighborhoods." And let me tell you, after, spending the day out there talking to all kinds of drug addicts, prostitutes, drug dealers, and all kinds of other undesirables, he changed his little gangster tune right away. And let me tell you something.
You gave him a major dose of reality, which was nice, but none of his parents do that. I come from the Midwest. We don't have that opportunity. We'd have to drive a couple hundred miles to do that.
Right, but my thing is this. You said that it was the way he dressed, and he had John Gotti was a gangster, a killer. That nigga, he wore a suit. So if your son put on the suit, it was still being a gangster. With you know what I'm saying? Like, you going off the way he dressed and how he looked.
Well, the difference between John Gotti and some stupid, block hustling street thug is the fact that John Gotti thought as a corporation, at least this man was a Republican about it. At least he was a Republican about it.
Ghost, you're breaking up. Try it again.
At least he was a Republican about it and wasn't out here, making welfare carols. It's the first of the month. I mean, have you ever heard this song? Have you heard this song? You people you need to download it. It's called First of the Month by Bone Thugs and Harmony. It is a welfare carol. These people are singing about the first of the month government subsidy check.
Because
and
that's something that's real.
Then the whole rap song is about how they're gonna buy marijuana and 4 O's, which is 40-ounce bottles of malt liquor. This is what they talk about, and this is the kind of mentality we're perpetuating. And, sir, with all due respect, I think that you need to grow up out of that particular lifestyle, and you need to understand that that's not going to get you anywhere, sir.
But can I say something personal? I have a personal interjection.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Oh, as a parent, I give you kudos for taking a hold of the situation. We may disagree on a whole lot of stuff. But I think what you did was really open up your son's eyes to the reality of what life is. And I just want to say, hey, here's a real parent. Might not agree with you on some stuff, but you gave him a real good dose of reality.
But
my question is, did it last? Where is he now?
Oh, are you kidding me? He went to college, you know. I mean, he's a great, productive member of society at this point. Has a family.
So
but
it was
the
like
thing,
hip hop. So when is it the parent that steps in and says, okay, wait a minute, hip hop is raising my kid, or this is influencing my kid?
It doesn't necessarily have to be hip hop. It could be anything.
It could be a third-party influence. It could be a third. Hold on a second. Hold on.
You
it
said
could
it
have
was
been
the way that your son was dressed. And
well, that's because
and I said, well,
that was
John Gotti
because
and all these other people. You look at Scarface and the Godfather. These people wear suits, and they do the same thing as worse than rappers, if quote unquote, as you say, and they actors. But you saying that's different because he was a Republican, some craziness.
Well, no, the thing about John,
guys, one at a time, please. I can't hear you.
The thing about John Gotti is that, first of all, he was a criminal. The justice system dealt with him accordingly, and he believed in a family. You know, he wasn't out here promoting, deviant activity. You know, let me go ahead and bust a few hoes and have 4 or 5 baby mamas and all this garbage. He doesn't promote that stuff. As a matter of fact, he had one wife, he had one family. All right, I mean, you need to understand
everything else he did was cool.
Just
as long as he took care of his family. That's what you're saying.
You can't be defending Gotti. You should, Gotti was a bad role model.
I'm just no. Scarface is a character from a movie. So was the.
I'm not saying people should act like John Gotti, and then not only that, John Gotti wasn't being sold to children. All right, John Gotti was just a pop culture icon.
They made a TV show of his kids. You don't think that's exploiting the Gotti's name?
He is a pop culture icon. He is not some rapper. He's not somebody being sold as a legitimate gangster when he knows he's not.
No. How can he be? How can you say he's a pop icon? Though I mean, this is a mafia boss. Why is he a pop icon? Why do kids grow up and say, oh, who's that? Oh, he was that.
It's unfortunate, Ozone. I know. I mean, but we have infamous people: Lucky Luciano, Gambino, Tony Tuna, Sam Giancana. I mean, these people are a part of our American history. We just have to face up to it.
And they all have movies.
Stop for a second. You are really breaking up, and you're talking over each other. Go say what you said again, slower and louder, because BTR is broke talk tonight. I cannot understand what you're saying.
I'm just saying that, look, the bottom line is I understand that Gotti was a killer. He was a thug. He was a despicable human being. But the bottom line is he became a pop culture icon, unfortunately, just like every other mobster has, Lucky Luciano, Vincent Gambino, Fat Tony Tuna, Sam Giancana. I mean, I
why
go on
should
and on.
These criminals become pop culture?
Because, unfortunately, they dealt in a black market that they dominated. And when people dominate black markets, they become very wealthy people. And then when they become very wealthy people, they start asserting themselves in the legitimate world. That's why you have these people as pop icons.
That's the same media. It's the media that glorified them, the same media that glorified the Chronic album, the same media that glorified 50 Cent and all these other rappers that you feel talking about bitches and hoes. It was the same media.
Yeah, but John Gotti didn't make his money by selling, John Gotti records.
Nobody wanted to preach his funeral. But he was on every newspaper.
Listen,
he was come on. They made 2 documentaries, a movie. His kids,
but he did not look. He didn't personally benefit by selling any kind of John Gotti products. Okay, he was a criminal, criminal mastermind. He was a criminal mastermind, and unfortunately, he had the monopoly on certain criminal enterprises in New York, and that's why he went down as an infamous figure. It's unfortunate. I don't believe he should. But, to compare him with these ridiculous fake gangster rappers, and they're fake. All of them are fake. None of them have lived anything that they rap about. So as a result, by very definition, they are yelling fire in a theater by yelling such malarkey that they know they've never participated in, but that are encouraging youth to do so.
I don't think it's a matter of that. I don't think it's a matter of whether... Well, I lost my train of thought. What were you just? I forgot.
So basically, what you're saying is, when you look at these,
you're comparing John Gotti to
no.
Okay, John Gotti equals
it could be anybody. It could be
a legitimate criminal.
It could be
hip hop. They can pretend they are. Is that what you're saying?
No.
It doesn't matter if they're pretend or not. It doesn't matter if they're real gangsters or not. That makes
they're
no
all
sense.
bad. I don't care either if they're real or not real. They shouldn't be.
But there's there's something between whether they black or they white, they purple, orange, or green. Something in they upbringing, something in their environment that made them choose to go that route. You get what I'm saying? Now,
they're misrepresenting themselves, sir, and to make a whole cultural hip-hop movement based on a bunch of false characters.
No, but again, not everybody is like that. For example,
they're representing a real.
You look at. They say you don't snitch, right? When you in the mob, you don't snitch or whatever. Every time every time one of these dudes ends up getting it, there's something going on there. Every time somebody get into something, somebody always snitch. You know what I'm saying? So see, there's people that's in it that's not even made for what they into. So understanding what you're saying as far as like, yes, there are some rappers that find them that are active and they do it just to get in the game or whatever the situation is.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other end, there's still other people in other organizations and other crimes that actually do that shit. That's not built for that neither. So for you to actually handpick and say all rappers or rap,
I think that all rappers are a bunch of fake. Do you know who Curtis Jackson is? Curtis Jackson is a fake suburban American kid that decided
you sticking to 50 Cent like how y'all saying I was sticking to John Gotti. 50 Cent isn't the only rapper.
50 Cent is the most successful rapper of all time, sir.
No, he's not.
Yes, he is. He's the most successful record seller of all time. He's sold 25, 30 million records already. He's only produced 3 albums. Don't school me on music, son. I'm in the business of music, so don't sit here and try to school me on record sales.
He have not sold more records than Jay-Z.
Well, the only reason Jay-Z has so many records is because he's produced them for a longer period of time. 50 Cent came on the scene in 2001. It's 2008. The man sold about 30, 40 million records. It's unbelievable.
Do you think all his
Hello?
Hello? Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Do you think all his money...
cut off.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
I hear you now.
Do you think all his money comes from selling records?
No, all his money comes from not only selling records, but to sell his likeness, which is this ridiculous gangster character, 50 Cent, which he happened to have ripped off that little nickname from some real criminal narcotics dealer in Brooklyn, New York. And you see, the liberal media is actually trying to sell this man as a legitimate person that's trying to give an artistic expression of the ghetto when he knows damn well he's never seen the ghetto.
So how about he's from Queens. He lived in the projects. Like lived in the house, same house. You saw the movie. But what I'm saying is, that movie was a farce, just like 8 Mile was a farce. You see, this is what you people don't understand. Just because these people went into a movie like Eminem with 8 Mile, and then dumbass 50 Cent with Get Rich or Die Trying, those were not their biographies. That was just a movie. You're right. But it's 75 to 80%. They tell you 75 to 80%. But I'm jumping off the topic. I'm jumping off the subject that I was going. He didn't make all his money. So,
you're cutting in and out again. You're cutting in and out. Go ahead.
He didn't sell all his. He didn't make all his money from selling records. He did a couple of films. He did his Vitamin Water. He did. He did a couple of MTV. Ventures. It was
exactly all geared towards younger generations because they actually believe that this idiot is a real gangster. They got shot 5 times. He's a farce. He's a bunch of malarkey, and that's my qualms with hip-hop. These people are fake.
Why would Pepsi and Vitamin Water do business with somebody they sell got 5 times and would jeopardize?
Because they see the amount of albums that he's selling, and then obviously he's selling albums because some idiots in this world actually believe he's a real gangster. I mean, that's the only reason. That's the only reason why people buy gangster albums. Because first of all, the beats are pretty cheap. I mean, it's pretty simplistic. I mean, anybody with, Fruity Loops or a multi-track system and a couple of instruments can become a rap producer. So the bottom line is you are selling an image, and these images that these record companies are selling are a bunch of fakes. And anybody who buys them as any kind of legitimate source of outcry of the ghetto probably, would buy oceanfront property in Kansas.
Arizona.
Common Sense is now doing commercials for the Cadillac, for new Cadillac truck. What do you think about that? That is a rapper that hasn't been shot. He ain't killed nobody. He's Cadillac. Okay, I want to hear this. It's not still stopping, spinning. How do you feel about that?
Well, I don't think nothing of it. I think White Rose has something to say, and then Ozone, and then we'll get back to 50 Cent over here.
Okay.
I'm trying to be respectful. You are in the middle of a heated argument, and when I want to intercede, all I can do is say questions. So I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I
don't worry about it. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, my question is, this might be pie in the sky, Pollyannish thought, but you know what? If we took, who knows? Let's level the playing field. And let's take the issue of money out of it. You're not going to make any money. You just, if you want to say something, say it. But you know what? You're not going to make millions. Who is going to disappear? Who is really going to be out there? My guess is the people who are real.
Right. I agree with you.
Does that make any sense, Ghost?
Yeah, well, of course, but unfortunately, all the people that are selling all these hip-hop records are fake, and that's my argument.
That's what I'm saying. I'm telling you, yeah, a lot of it is just the friggin' money.
Ice Cube was a gangster rapper straight from Compton. Really did what he did. Now he's a movie producer. You know why Tyler Perry changed the game?
And what are these people doing with their money? Are they taking it back to the real ones, even the real ones?
Of course they.
Are they going back to their neighborhoods? Are they bettering?
No, they're not. They're out there living.
That's not true.
They're out there living in Bel Air. They're not helping their neighborhoods. They're not.
Someone like Tyler Perry. The reason why Tyler Perry, why did I get married? Did over $250 million the first weekend. That's Arnold Schwarzenegger Terminator numbers. Why? Because he let it be known that you could put out a black movie without no cursing, sex, drugs, and people still go out, see it, and be entertained. All genres of music. Explain that. He put rappers and singers in his shit. I'm listening.
Well, that's what we're looking for is some clean return. Let's have some clean return.
Raise their kids and don't let the music and the media, whether it's MTV, VH1, a TV one, raise their kids.
Well, Ozone, you've been kind of quiet. Do you have something to say about this?
Yeah, I think, basically the whole discussion is a lot of semantics, but the bottom line is that anyone that's involved in drugs or was drug dealing or is putting a woman in a bad light or is living in excess, they might give a little charity after they have 3 houses and 25 cars, then they'll give a little charity. But anyone that does that, John Gotti, Elvis, who did drugs, anyone who does stuff like that has to be held in a low light in any media, in any forum. We don't put them up on pedestals. That's the problem. And, parents have to help, but obviously there's a huge attraction for these people that are made romantic as if it's romantic to be a thug and it's a lifestyle and being a gangster. All these things we have to put in a lower light. And that's really the message that we should send to all people, that even though it sounds entertaining, understand what it is. It's not good. There's no good from it. The good songs I want. But all these bad role models got to go down. No drug user getting a Grammys like crazy while she's on drugs singing about that she's not going to rehab. It's ridiculous.
I agree, Ozone, and you couldn't have said it any better. Now, I'm going to give...
my input, can I get a little bit of input?
Go ahead.
I heard what you say in Ozone, and I agree with you. I think what parents need to do is keep some of this entertainment. I don't know. It might be. First of all, I did go through some early childhood education training. You got to make sure that those first 3 years are enriching and loving, and as they grow up, you got to make sure those kids listen to you, and you do that by being good parents, loving parents, and as they grow. They will listen to you. Be attentive parents. Ghost, I don't think you disagree with me. And when they get to the point where all these other influences come in, you can limit them, and you can sit down with your kid. You can talk to them and say, this is what this is. You don't need this in your life. You need, to me, a lot of kids, you can still reach them, whatever. But, for the new parents of today, start from day one. Keep your relationship close and be attentive. And when they get older, they're going to listen to you. I've raised grandkids, and I still have, and I don't have them with me now. But when I sit down with them and I talk to them, they look me in the eyes and they listen to me because I've made an impression on them.
Well,
and I always will, because you have to start with a relationship that's solid, and then those kids will listen to you. You've got to bulletproof your relationship.
All right. Now, I don't mean to cut people off here, but we only got 6 minutes left. 30 seconds for everybody, and then I'm going to close out the show here.
No problem.
646, go ahead if you want to promote a show and get a point across, and then we're going to pass it over to Rose and then Ozone, and we're closing it out here.
Oh no, I mean I perfectly agree with Rose. You know, I mean, you know, rappers and singers and bands, they don't live in the household, so any influence that, you know, for the child, it should start with the parent, and you know they will listen. You know, if everything is done right. I agree. And thanks for your time, and you have a good night.
Thanks a lot, man. We appreciate your input.
And my name is 11, just in case y'all didn't.
Thanks a lot, 11.
No problem.
Rose, you want to go ahead and leave us with a few words?
Just what I said. Raise your kids up right. Those first 3 years are very, very, very important. Up until the age of 5, anything that you put into your kid's heart or mind is going to have a disproportional effect on their whole life. And as they grow, and if you've impacted on them a close, communicative, talk to them, communicate with them, they will listen to you. Even in the teen years, you know, I have had a very tumultuous relationship with my daughter, and the one that I thought should hate me is the one that loves me the most. I took her kids away because she was in an abusive relationship, and she didn't protect her kids. I did. I stepped in. She was too blind to see it at the time, and it happens. But as a loving grandparent, I did.
Well,
all I'm saying is, you know what? Even as they get older, if you have a solid, loving relationship with your kids, they're going to listen to you.
Okay, and we'll go ahead and leave it at that. Thank you very much, Rose. Go ahead, Ozone. Do you want to leave us with some last words?
Yeah, basically, kids will do what they see and not what they... Basically, their role models today are all drug users and, you know, people having sex and getting married and divorced nonstop and freely and openly drinking all night. When I grew up, I didn't know any actors used drugs, and on the shows there was no drugs or sex. Now the actors are all using drugs, all the kids know it, and on the shows they're doing sex and drugs too. And it's very bad. Thanks for having me. I'm the Ozone from Political Intervention, and I appreciate you letting me be on the show, and thanks for having it.
No problem, Ozone. Thank you very much for calling up, man.
All right, boss.
All right, well, you know, that concludes a pretty healthy debate. I want to thank everybody who called in, Ozone, White Rose, guest number 11, everyone else who showed up this evening. I really thank you very much. Right now, all I'm going to do is close out the show, but what I wanted to let everybody know is that we need to start understanding that these candidates that are out here for president right now aren't giving two rat's asses about the American people. You notice how they're not saying anything that benefits the American people. They're not talking about the devaluing of the American dollar. They're not talking about the fact that we've got New York high-end retail stores not accepting American money anymore. They're accepting the euro. We need to understand that we need these politicians to pay more attention on stimulating our economy, not artificially by throwing government money at it, but actually to stimulate jobs, to create jobs, to stimulate innovation. I mean, that's what we need. And what's unfortunate is we've got most of our power-hungry autocrat politicians out here sticking a Kentucky Fried Chicken greased thumb up their poop chutes, not giving two rat's asses about the American people. And I think the American people need to wake up. They need to write their congressmen. They need to write their senators. And they need to understand that we need to hold these people accountable. We need to understand that these people need to start talking rhetoric that are in favor of the American people and no one else. And that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. And I thank everyone for tuning in with me. And I beg all of you, if you appreciated this show, we get really passionate, we get really heated on this show. I advise you to check out the archives, and you can get back to the archives at www.blogtalkradio.com/ghost and check out all the shows that we have up on there. We've got a few of them, let me tell you, and we always have a good time, and we get really passionate. And let me tell you why we get passionate, folks, because I love America. I'm a true conservative. And I'm seeing in this day and age, whether you look at the left-wingers, whether it's Hillary Rotten Clinton, whether it's Barack Hussein Obama, and if you look on the right and you look at this closet liberal, John Turncoat McCain, you'll understand that true conservatives, true Republicans, people that believe in less taxes, less government in our faces, less government regulation, we don't have anybody to represent us, folks. And that's what's unfortunate. It's definitely unfortunate. Once again, whether you like me, whether you hate me, I really appreciate you listening in to me this evening. I urge you to check us out in the archive once again, www.blogtalkradio.com/ghost. Check out the archive and share some of these shows. You know, we have a little share option. Send some of these shows out to your friends, to your family, and ask them, what do you think about these subject matters? And then talk about it, because that's what we need, folks. We need to perpetuate debate. And I thank you very much for listening. Long live the conservative movement and death to feminism, folks.
Boar's Head is bringing a slice of Japan to the deli. Introducing Boar's Head Ichiban Teriyaki-style chicken. Tender, slow-roasted chicken breast, coated in our signature teriyaki glaze, where ginger, garlic, and a hint of brown sugar meet for a flavor that's both sweet and savory. New Boar's Head Ichiban Teriyaki-style chicken. The bold flavor of Japan. Now at the deli. Only from Boar's Head. Compromise elsewhere.